And if you've been running the Annihilation Raid Omega and notice your rewards aren't showing up, or they seem smaller than expected, you're not alone.
Hard, no cash to spend, free to play till the very
There's been a
end.
ton of confusion about rewards lately, so in this video we're going to clear up why it's happening and more importantly how to fix it. We're going to go over the difference between Annihilation Raid 2 and Annihilation Raid Omega, who should be running which one, and how to set up your raids correctly so you don't lose rewards. And first off, I want to address one common misunderstanding. Some players think they're missing rewards because the per node reward loot doesn't appear in a pop-up after completion, but that's actually how Omega works. This is a big change from what we've been used to over the last few months, when most alliances were running the Annihilation Raid due to that initial mislaunch of the Annihilation Omega. So newer players and alliances might not be familiar with how Omega raids work, its rewards, and that is where a lot of the confusion starts. So let's answer the important questions. What's the difference between the two raids? Which one should your alliance be running? And as an alliance leader or captain, how should you set them up? Let's jump into the game and take a look. All right, here we are in game. Let's hit those raids. And we are going to start with the auto launcher. This tool is one of the best quality of life updates the dev team has added. It takes a bit of pressure off alliance leadership by automatically launching your daily raids. Now you can schedule one green raid, either Annihilation 2 or Annihilation Omega, and one purple raid, either Greeks 1 to 4 or Spotlight 2 or Spotlight 2 Strike. And once you've set it up, the raids will launch automatically at the same time each and every day. What you do need to remember is your alliance only earns 14,400 green and purple raid keys per day. So you need to plan your launch around that. So let's start by looking at Annihilation Raid 2. And if we tap the edit button here, you will see that you can switch between Annihilation 2 and Annihilation Omega. Now in the top right corner, if we hit details and notice that in Annihilation 2, there is no global difficulty setting. It even says right at the bottom here, can be selected on every node. So each node in this can have its own difficulty level, and that's huge for flexibility. Now, if we hit rewards, you will see that the end of raid rewards are mostly T4 ability materials. And as long as your alliance clears 60% or more, you're going to get the same payout as 100% clear. That's because the real value here is coming from the per node rewards. And when we look at a live raid, each strike team has 8 raid lanes with 9 nodes per lane, and each node can be adjusted up or down depending on your roster. This is a big reason I've said in my safe to build guides that raid teams are important, but in Annihilation 2 you don't have to rush to have the newest raid team maxed out on day one. For free to play alliances especially, this is a fantastic change. Most players like myself are running nodes at difficulty 9, sometimes dropping to difficulty 8 if we don't have the gear tier 20 resources to be able to gear tier 20 those teams. And since raids are meant to be a check-in activity now, simming these nodes is perfectly fine. Now looking at the rewards, every node is going to give you 200 raid season points, 100 of the chapter currency, and 3,000 gold. And the higher your difficulty, the more you'll get, especially gear orbs, gold, and chapter currency. At difficulty 9, for example, you're walking away with roughly 3,700 gear tier 20 orb fragments, which is just under 2 full orbs, 2,750 chapter currency, 341,000 gold, 10 T formats, which is including the end of raid payout for getting over 60%, and around 102,001,800 raid season points every single day. Now we'll keep those numbers in mind for later. Now let's head back to the auto launcher and switch to Annihilation Omega. And when we click details here, you'll see a big change. Here you can select a global difficulty. And once it's set, that is the lowest difficulty available for every node in the raid. So if your alliance leader sets the raid to difficulty 10, every node must be cleared at difficulty 10. You can go higher on individual nodes, but that doesn't mean better rewards at the end. It's only going to add more raid season points, which is mostly a brag factor. You'll also see that Omega has fewer total nodes, 52 in comparison to 72, which is in Annihilation 2. And that's because Omega is designed for that team coordination. You've got 2 floaters per strike team who can help either sacking nodes or clearing up as a backup. This is where the recent complaints have been coming from, especially around node 8, the first mystic node, which is requiring your immortal weapons or night stalkers. It is highly tuned for the immortal weapons and not currently simmable. You can clear it manually with a big night stalkers, but it's rough. And that's something we haven't really had to deal with lately. But back in the day of the Doom or Orcus raids, this was normal. When a new raid dropped, there were always a few walls you had to muscle through, either with coordination, bigger builds, and even a few power cores for heals. So let's compare the rewards between Annihilation 2 and Annihilation Omega at similar difficulty. Now at difficulty 9, unless your alliance is clearing 100%, Omega will actually pay out less than Annihilation 2 because Omega's end of raid rewards are tied directly to that completion percentage and difficulty. If your alliance can full clear the Omega raid, you will see a modest increase, about 60 more chapter currency, 300 extra gear tier 20 fragments, and 10,000 more gold per player. And at difficulty 10, it's still only a small bump. Around another 800 gear tier 20 fragments and an additional 17,000 more gold and 55 more chapter currency than we would have gotten for difficulty 9 of the same raid. So your alliance really has to decide if the juice is worth the squeeze. Now the biggest difference is the raid season points. Omega is going to give you a lot more of them, but right now the season rewards have not caught up with the newer progression systems like purple ISO 4 or 5 or even gear tier 20. The only real bonus you're going to get here is extra Thunderstrike shards, which everyone is going to hit 7 yellow on by the end of the chapter anyway. Now I do think we will see G20 fragments added to the season rewards later on, but at the moment I just don't think enough players have reached Professor X, and so that bottleneck isn't able to be opened up yet. So is Annihilation Raid Omega worth it? Well, for most alliances, no, not yet. And that's why my alliance has gone back to running Annihilation 2. We've got a mix of heavy spenders, engaged free-to-play players, and some more casual players. And that setup works best for us. But if you're in a top-end alliance like Questionable Proprietary, D's Leaderboards, or Rockets, where everyone's maxing new teams day 1 and buying those full stars, then sure, Omega is certainly the place to be. But for everyone else, it's horses for courses. So to wrap this up, the missing rewards issue usually comes down to the raid setup, difficulty settings, or the completion percentage. And if your alliance can't consistently 100% complete Omega, you're likely going to earn more rewards from Annihilation 2 until we have a season reward update. Now, if you found this helpful, hit that like button, share it with your alliance, and drop a comment telling me what raid your alliance is running right now. And if you want help setting up your raids or just want to hang out with other players, join the Jetson Squad Discord. Link will be in the description down below. And until next time, Commander, good luck in your raids, and I'll see you in the next one.